What's going on? You're in the Beat Sessions. I'm your host, Mitchell Weary. It's Friday, June 4th, and the Queen of Indie Rock has returned. That is right. After an 11-year hiatus, Liz Phair has finally dropped her highly anticipated new record entitled Soberish. And for those of you who are longtime fans, talking the early stuff, Exile in Guyville, Whip Smart, White Chocolate Space Egg, you're going to be really pleased with this record. She brought back producer Brad Wood to help her out on this project. And so it's really cool to see her delve back into that old style, that kind of original style that she developed without it seeming forced. It seems very natural, very organic, just kind of like a very odd full circle that has kind of come to pass. Her career is immensely interesting as far as, she talks about the impact of Exile in Guyville and just, I was just trying to make an album. I didn't realize the magnitude that this record would have, inspiring just countless indie artists over the last 3 decades, pretty much. And Whip Smart, White Chocolate Space Egg, she follows Exile up with those 2 albums, and great records in their own right. And then in 2003, I think everybody's head pretty much exploded when they heard the single "Why Can't I." Far cry from where she started, and I don't blame her for wanting to branch out and trying to do different things. But the 2000s weren't that great to Liz. And Fun Style, the last record that she put out in 2010, very mixed reviews, to the tune of it was either people really loving it or just not digging it at all. So you end up getting a Metascore somewhere in the middle that I don't think really is a reflection of how polarizing the record was, as far as her old fan base being like, what are you doing? So if you're a longtime fan, you're going to love this record. Really stoked that Brad Wood is back. It's got that, I wouldn't say the lo-fi element so much is there, but just the stripped back, simple instrumentation, the approach of just drums, bass, and guitar is in full effect here. And she's messing around with some other stuff too that's really a lot of fun. This album, thematically, the focus is on a jilted lover that is basically just trying to protect themselves from past heartaches, the pain that they felt due to prior trysts and relationships. And it's really nice to just have Liz back. She provides a sound perspective with so many regards to relationship matters, and she does so in a snarky, fun way that I love her sense of humor. It's definitely on display in different spots in this record. So I think, again, you longtime fans, this is the record that you've probably been waiting about 2 decades for, honestly, and I really think you're going to enjoy it. It opens up with Spanish Doors, really breezy, light rock opener about denial, the power of denial, which can be very powerful, and she really hones in and provides a nice perspective on the challenge of overcoming that little thing in our brain that tells us not to accept things. And I dig that song for the reason. The Game, second track, soaring vocal hook in the chorus about the mundane nature of affairs, and kind of slowly builds into that theme of what this record is about, which leads into the third track, Hey Lou, which I find just to be a very interesting character study. It's about Lou Reed and his wife, Laurie Anderson, whom he married 5 years before he passed away. So they were married from 2008 to 2013. And I think a lot of people would argue that Laurie was that person that really kind of helped ground Lou Reed at the end of his life. I think Laurie really helped him find an inner peace that he struggled to do on his own, or with the other influences of his life, with drug abuse and all these other things that have affected him. And so really dig the perspective of that track. It is written from Laurie's perspective, and she's very blunt about just being like, hey Lou, why are you being an asshole? Why are you stumbling around drunk like this? No one finds it charming. You're an immensely talented dude, and you're better than this. And so, and considering that Laurie is still alive, she's from pretty much the same area as Liz as well. So I'm sure that they've talked about the song, and it'd be interesting to be a fly on the wall with the exchange in that conversation to see what her thoughts are on that. But I dug it. I thought it was a cool song. And again, just a nice homage to Laurie Anderson, who I think a lot of people can acknowledge really helped, provide Lou Reed with some of that peace towards the end of his life. In there, great track, really highlights kind of that old school minimalism, drum, bass, simple acoustic riff, highlights her voice, and she uses a little bit of a vocal sampler. There's some contemporary stuff like that in this record that give it that newer feel, which I appreciate. Good Side, talking about that snarky kind of funny side that she has. The lyric goes, it starts off, so many ways to fuck up a life, I try to be original. That, and there's another song, Bad Kitty. It's the second to last song on the album. My pussy is a big dumb cat. It lies around lazy and fat, but when it gets a taste for a man, it goes out hunting for him any way it can. So Liz has certainly not lost the sharp tongue that she's kind of well known for, and I like that that's on display in this record. But songs like Sheridan Road, homage to her hometown. I think she lived in Lincoln Park for a number of years before she divorced her husband and ended up out in California. But I love the opening. It starts off with a motorbike, shifts to the sound of a tide, a rolling tide, and a little bit of thunder that comes in. Very much all sounds that, if you've spent any time on the shore in Chicago, these are all things that you could hear simultaneously at the same time. And so I love that song for that reason. Spent a lot of time in Chicago. I absolutely love that city. Back end of this record really has got a little more character, I would argue, than the front half of it. She starts to branch out a little more. Song Soul Sucker is probably my favorite, 9th track. It's got the little piano intro, and then she messes around with this R&B feel. That's phenomenal. And Lonely Street is an excellent track that it's got this kind of like big soaring style vocal hook that's it reminded me a lot of Joni Mitchell as it got towards the end of that track, and I really dug it for that reason. But Liz Phair is on top of her game. It's good to have her back doing her thing, the way that she used to do it. And again, I won't fault anybody for wanting to experiment a little bit and do some different stuff. But for you longtime fans, I'm going to vinyl please this, and I think you will be very pleased with what is going on in this record. Just really chill album. I think it's going to be a big-time summer hit for a lot of people, and I know that I will enjoy listening to it throughout the coming months. It's going to be a good one. So I hope you find this review helpful. Please like this video, subscribe to my channel, check out the live show on Sunday nights, and we will see you next time on the Beat Sessions.